Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at the series Earth Abides and we're going to be reviewing episode 1. But it starts with a nice walkthrough of the main character's home. It looks like he's been living in the woods for a while and we can see all sorts of things in his home like ropes and various things, even that book that we see on his table that says geology. And I think that's just trying to point out that he's a geologist. Yeah, I could not live in a place like this, just in the middle of the woods. That's pretty crazy. But then the main character narrates that he knows there are traces of pyrite somewhere nearby. I think he might be nearby mountains as well. And then we see him ignore his mom's phone call. I mean, dude, come on, answer your mom's phone, brother. I mean, anyway, but he gears up to go rock hunting, and then we see him searching on the side of the mountain or cliff, but it seems like he does find the pyrite that he was looking for. And then just as he notices another piece, he rests his hand, and guess what? He gets bitten by a freaking rattlesnake. I'm not gonna lie, that jump scare got me a little bit. But he goes to take out his phone to call for help, but he drops it. So he pulls out his knife to cut open the wound, and then he starts to suck out the venom. And I mean, dude, this man he's quick on his feet, you know, like I probably would have died in this situation, I'm not gonna lie. But now we see him struggling throughout the night, and it looks like that he's out for a while. And then eventually a pair of officers, I think, pull up to his door and say that he's sick, so we'll leave him for now. But when he finally wakes up, he is completely healed, it looks like, at least. But when he finally goes to start his car, it doesn't at first, and then it eventually does. And then he starts to listen to an audiobook while he heads into town. And then he arrives at a discount store, it looks like. But it looks like a natural disaster has just crashed through the town. He finds a dead UPS driver laying on the ground that has been decomposing for a little while now. So he kind of freaks out and gets back into his car and then just starts driving. But as he's driving, he's also flipping through the radio stations, and there are some stations are still on, and they're saying that there's an outbreak going on and that people need to stay in shelter, or there's a chance that they'll catch it as well. That news would have genuinely made me panic for a little bit. I definitely would have had to pulled over and just took a moment to gather myself after hearing that from the radio. But he then arrives at his parents' house, and he's walking around through the home, and it looks like there is no sign of life as here. There are rotten fruit and food just all over the kitchen as well. But when he walks upstairs, you can already hear the flies buzzing, and Ish is also covering his nose like there's a terrible smell going on as well. But we can see his dad and his mom are both laying dead from the virus or outbreak that has taken the world as well. But after that, Ish, he buries them in the backyard of their home. But this man genuinely has some strong willpower to keep continuing after hearing all of that about the world, and then, you know, just seeing his family dead like that. I mean, imagine you just waking up from a rattlesnake bite and then everything is just gone, you know. But now we see him walking through the city again, and there's just cars everywhere, and some of them have dead, decomposing bodies in them as well. And he's just walking through and narrating as he walks through it, but he eventually starts to walk through a church as well, and it looks like when the virus hit them, they were in the middle of a service because that church was filled with people as well. But then Ish takes a much needed pit stop, I think, at least, and he grabs some things to survive, you know. I mean, hey, you can never be so sure in the apocalypse. But he tries to head over back to San Francisco, it looks like, and it turns out that the Bay Bridge was closed. So he turns around and makes his way to Las Vegas. And I mean, this dude is speeding down the highway, and honestly, this probably would have been my first choice anyway. I mean, the whole place is just, you know, free of people, and you can choose anywhere to go on the strip or just anywhere in general. But let's continue. But he eventually arrives in the casino part of this big grand hotel that he decided to go to, and he is just screaming around asking, is anyone here or anyone alive? And there's no return for the call, so he just decides to go and take a skinny dip in the pool. But after all that, he walks back in completely naked, and I mean, there's no one else alive in the world, right? Right? And to his surprise, two people come out of the booth, and she tells him to go grab a robe for Ish so he can cover up, and they eventually just tell everything to him about how the world has went to crap after the time that he's been asleep. But Ish gets kind of freaked out by all of the information, so he runs away, and he's trying to look for like a room to stay in the hotel, but I mean, he definitely doesn't have any type of key to get inside the room. So they just cut to the next scene, and we see him just asleep on the floor, and it's the morning, and he wakes up and he's running around the hotel looking for them to make sure they're still there. And I mean, no one is really saying anything, but he eventually does find her, the woman that he meets previously, and she's talking about basically how nothing matters anymore and that she's not living now. But they go back out to the bar area, and Milton is cooking them food, and as he's cooking, they talk about how they were both at a conference, a job conference here at this hotel, and when the outbreak had happened, and apparently it was 80% full, the hotel was. So I mean, that's a lot of people that are still just laying somewhere or laying dead in the hotel. But she then explains that her whole family had died back in Dayton, and Milton's wife had died as well. And the reason why they didn't die, because it turns out that they are immune to whatever outbreak or virus had occurred in this world. But as they're eating, Ish eventually says that he is not going to stay here with them, and he's going to go and look for more people. And then Anne seems to get pretty upset, so she walks away from the table. And then Milt explains to him that once they are out of food, they're preparing to get ready for the inn. And then Ish asks, "What is the inn?" And Milton flashes a pistol at him. And at that point, I definitely would have gotten up and just left, because I mean, what can you? I mean, why is he flashing a pistol? You know what I mean? But Milton explains that her and him are going to kind of just end it all when they run out of food and drink. And he tells Ish to join them because of, Anne kind of likes him. I mean, even though he literally just met them yesterday. But anyway, and then Ish is kind of like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he tries to talk Milton into not doing it as well, but they are dead set on doing that. And so he walks over to Anne as well to talk her out of it, and saying that he can like take her out of here. And she says that she wouldn't leave with him even if he was Jesus. So she's not listening to him, what he has to say. And Ish kind of backs off and he leaves. And as he's leaving, right outside in like almost the parking lot of the hotel, you can hear the gunshot go off. So she was definitely affected by Ish. I don't know why really, but she seemed to just go ahead and end her life now. But Ish, it hits him pretty hard. So he's driving down the street and he's speeding even faster than he was last time. And we see him almost hit a dog, and he stops in front of the dog and is like, "It's your lucky day." And then he names the dog Lucky. So now he has a new friend, and he's talking to it a lot actually in the next couple of scenes. So now he's on his way back to his hometown, and he stops in his library and he picks up a whole bunch of books from there so he can just have stuff to do, I guess. And then when he gets back home, it jumps a year and we see him with a whole new look. I mean, at least with his hair and his facial hair. And he's exercising and chopping wood, and also he's like toasting a Pop-Tart over like a campfire's grill, basically like the thing that you kind of just like light up butane and fire comes out. I'm not exactly too sure what this is called, but and then he wakes up the next morning to Lucky barking off of the balcony, and he sees a smokestack coming out of a building that's a little bit ways away, and that's got to be a sign of life. So you can just see how relieved Ish is after seeing that. And yeah, that was the end of the episode. But I'll have to say that episode is a great start to this show. I personally cannot wait to see what's going to happen next. But please let me know what y'all think of the intro episode, and I will see y'all on Sunday for episode 2. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.